Today's episode of Weird Things is brought to you by Glitter Pants. Inside, I create you.
This is Sophie. He's a UK music producer who has worked with a lot of PC music artists. So he's got a very distinct technical sound. So I just got an email from Allie Gertz. Her album comes out December 21.
Oh man, does
Yeah, no, I know.
Andrew, are you familiar with Ellie Gertz's new concept album?
No.
It's a synth rock opera about Rick and Morty.
Nice. I'm halfway through season 2. I only let myself watch one episode a day.
Now, how many times do you let yourself watch one episode?
No, I've been good because there's not going to be another season forever, and I just don't want to just race through binge watch and then be like, man, I wish I could savor each one of these.
Being lonely.
What episode did you just get to?
I just finished the one where the alien heads come there and they've got to do the music.
Show me what you got.
Yeah.
That was all that was running through my head the entire time I was out doing Dance Showdown. Was I like what you got. Good job. That was also the preview episode that we got to see when we
Oh yeah, that in Blips and Chits.
Blips and Chits
No spoilers.
with
please.
Crumbopulous Michael. No, you've already
you've
seen it.
that one, yeah.
You saw the Blips and Chits where he plays Roy.
With Fart. Are you watching them out of order, maybe?
No. Oh, the one where it's the Blips and just that was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, he played a life well lived.
Yeah, Roy. Yeah. Roy too, I hear, is a lot better though.
That's the difference between you and me, Morty. I don't go back to the carpet store.
God, so many good things in there.
Oh man.
Did you read the original version that Justin Roiland made of what it was
Doc and Monty.
and he Marty had to he needed him to Doc tried to make him go down on him to
Yeah,
go back.
no. That video is posted on YouTube. He's like, I'm sorry, you gotta lick my balls, Marty. It's the only way. I'm
Which is
sorry.
a Team America rip, but still,
Yeah.
Hey Justin, can you give me a little talkie action?
Yeah, check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Great.
Here we go, talking to you. I can goose my volume, by the way. I have it a little low.
Oh no, you're good. You're good for me.
Oh, good.
What is this?
Oh, that's a very cool
the hot
thing.
hell is that?
Is this microphone plugged in?
Yeah.
That is the new Ricoh Theta S.
I've seen those little guys.
Then this is the new one, which is
Ooh.
even higher resolution than the last year model.
Wow, very nice.
Man, what'd be awesome is if there was an even better 3D camera that you could take on adventures all
Which
around.
you could do up close and that'd be awesome.
No, really awesome is if we didn't get into a conversation about technology for. Oh no, wait, no. I guess no. We can get into that technology. We just can't get into the other technology. That'll be paying us. We can debate whose VR cameras are better.
If it does up close, that's awesome. I'd love to know more
Also,
about.
I don't know whether or not do we know what cameras?
We don't. That's I'm just saying the general idea. Wait, is there another thing about cameras that I'm missing?
No. I think we're talking about the same cameras.
What I'm saying is the biggest limitation in trying to shoot 360-degree VR stuff has been the camera size, where a lot of the professionally produced stuff uses cameras that are much larger that have a parallax problem, and so you have to do tons of post processing. And that's what's cool about the Ricoh Theta S is the fact that you could sit this camera between here and the monitor, and it'll pick up everything, and it won't have any distortion.
Yeah, I wasn't talking. I'm trying to read between the lines on Justin's stuff. I was talking less about the camera used to record, but the awesome content and experiences that can be brought to you.
I guess I got tripped up because initially you were like specifically talking about the cameras, and I didn't know whether or not you were aware of the cameras that would be on the adventures, or if this was like a co-production where like
I know absolutely nothing. I was just using it as a clumsy segue to speak in code about how.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get into a situation where we're
sure.
This is better and this is better. And it's like, who knows? Who knows?
I want to know what's better. I want to know. I want to know.
Have we dropped hints to you?
I've talked to Andrew about it.
Okay, well, we can speak in code. If all goes well, as a great magician once said before slamming his hand through a knife, if all goes well, Justin and I will be bringing a series of virtual reality adventures to people soon. How about that? Is that fair to say?
I mean, like, I think it all better go well. Like, I mean, considering they're like booking travel and stuff.
Yeah.
That's on them if it doesn't.
Hey, Justin, your video was a little hot. You're a little bright today.
Yeah, no. I'm actually I'm futzing with my lights here.
Cool.
So.
Very cool.
Light futzer.
I don't know if this is on the menu for today, Andrew, but did you guys talk up? Or are you in? They showed off the PlayStation VR over the weekend.
Is that?
Yeah, we could talk about that. I didn't see any specs I didn't notice if there was anything new about it, but I would love to.
All this stuff changed. I forgot all this stuff changed because of the other day. They showed it on stage, and it was a thing where, like, it's a live demo, so some of the live demo stuff wasn't always working so hot.
Oh, there was a weird news story that happened today that I read, and I was like, oh, we got to talk about this on the show tonight. Now I'm looking through Google News, and I can't find it. It was a weird legal implication of something, is what I wanted to say.
But
exciting news! They're doing a Psychonauts 2, which is dope.
Well, they're crowdfunding a Psychonauts 2.
Yes. Well, I am. Did they ever release the game that was going to be a game that they broke all the records of crowdfunding at the time?
Yes, both parts of that are now out.
And how was it received? Is it good?
I liked it. Well, I liked the first part, and then once you get to the second part, it's like you kind of do the same stuff again. Some similar stuff again, and so I have not been hesitant to finish it. But it's also short. It's kind of short. It's well made, and it's really pretty, and it's well written. It's a little short.
Black, y'all.
Oh. I need to get my eyes checked.
Yeah. I liked Psychonauts 2 immensely.
Psychonauts 1?
Yes, that too. I like the idea of Psychonauts 2 immensely. Sorry. I liked the original Psychonauts. Unfortunately, it's in that great list of games that I loved a lot and yet did not finish. Right there by Fallout 3. That's one that I never finished.
Wow.
Got too distracted by the side quests.
The Fallout 3 was that weird thing where, like, when it came out before they had the DLC, if you finished the game, you couldn't do anything else. So, like, when it came out, it kind of made sense not to finish the game if you wanted to do everything, you know?
Fallout 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think New Vegas was like that, too.
It's funny because I finished Fallout 2 3 times.
Yeah. Hey guys, you want to get weird?
Yeah. Yeah. We want to do that?
Yeah. Hold on, wait. Let me make a demand of my wife real quick.
All right. Wow, Psychonauts 2 is at 54% of the $3.3 million already.
Wow, that's like it got the bulk of its crowdfunding immediately upon release.
Yep.
Dirty pool.
Dirty pool, old man. I like it.
All right.
All right.
Let me tweet out that we're about to start.
Oh, okay. Let me stop that and reset. Delete.
Carl, I was hoping Tensor Guy would be here, but he's out. He's running errands right now, so I
What
was
is Kickstarter?
hoping to
That's
pull him in.
right.
What is this Kickstarter?
What's that?
What's the Kickstarter?
Oh, have you not seen it? Here, take a look at it. We could play the whole video before the show.
Sure.
Holographic vector display, and it is a volumetric display system. It draws images in the air with light. Holovex can be viewed by multiple people from multiple angles. It is a true volumetric display like the holograms that we've seen in movies and science fiction for so long. I can see a future where every toggle, every control you have is going to be a projected volumetric entity. You'll have buttons, you'll have signs, there's room in education and planning. Whenever you see a movie and there's a projection, it's always being used for very practical purposes. It's always being used to describe a large dimensional scene. And that technology does not exist. You can 3D print an object, but it will take a long time, and it's not interactive. With this technology, you can create landscapes, you can create scenery and move it and change it. You can create designs and see them come to life. An architect can make a building and actually see it without waiting for a maquette, and then modify it and see it again. There's also a future where it can be used as a communication device. It is a first step, but it can go far beyond just a simple display. It's a holographic vector display.
Okay.
Turn it on by pressing that button.
Right here?
Yep.
Oh man, that is so cool.
At its heart is an Edison microcontroller, and you can load images to it via USB or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It's basically a computer. You can program it, or you can actually code for it if you're advanced enough.
The SDK gives you all the tools you'll need to get started right out of the box. Take something very simple, a point in space that is X, Y, and Z. And you take two of those, now you have a vector. You take a group of those, now you have an object. The SDK gives you the tools to manipulate an object in space with minimal programming skills.
I have a degree in physics from Virginia Tech, and light is one of the things that are really important to me. And this is an application of physics mostly and computer science. I also have a lot of experience manufacturing. I design and build solar-powered phone booths and streetlights. I think there's few technologies that are as disruptive as crowdfunding and as important as Kickstarter. In the past, somebody like me with an idea and invention would have to go through a very long, circuitous route to get funding. And this way, I can produce an idea, make a product, and bring it directly to the people who will help me develop it in the future. The idea is to get Holovex in the hands of as many people as possible, developers, programmers, artists, to see what they will come up with. And then we can develop it further, use that experience and that input to go to the next phase.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Are we ready?
I believe so, sir.
TWT? All right. Well, let me hit.
You find your weird story, Brian?
No. Hold on. It was a chick who did something weird. God dog it. Let me look for it.
Just Google weird chick.
Yeah, I actually will. Weird chick. Nope.
So strange.
Like your shirt, Justin. Good message for the kids.
Drugs Bunny?
We just need drugs.
You want me to change it out? This might be too
Whatever you
family
want.
friendly.
I mean, I don't know.
If you just keep your microphone there, it's Rugs Bunny.
Holy crap! Krampus beat Good Dinosaur. Oh, Malongo's screwed.
Wow.
Is there a reason am I like super chunky?
No, not for us.
You're just a lower frame rate. You look good.
Yeah. I'd still say you're probably a little hot video-wise, but...
I mean, how did you want us to answer that question? I mean, since you got married, I mean, every guy kind of just sort of settles in.
All right.
A bit.
Yeah. Hey, listen. You know, I've packed on the freshman 15.
Because I can. Doggone it. I wish I could. I don't know why.
I wonder if all those Krampus ticket sales were ironic. Like, hey guys, let's go check
Well,
out Adam Scott and Krampus.
It's supposed to be kind of a dark comedy.
Oh, really?
Like people are putting in the same category as Gremlins and Die Hard, where it's like it's Christmas. You know, it's anti-Christmas movie. You know, I mean, the conceit's about people who end up on the naughty list, right? It sounds. You know, I don't know. People say it's a lot of fun. I'm giving up. I can't find my thing.
What are you looking for?
There was some news item I saw on Google News today that it was just a weird story. It was a chick who did something or other, and I can't recall it because I remember seeing it, and it was so obvious to me that we would talk about it that I didn't bother to write it down or look it up or anything.
Thanks for not responding. Let's just go.
Jimmy
Let's just
Carter
do the
claims
show,
he has no
guys.
cancer. That's weird.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to hit this button, and then I will count you guys in. You guys good to go?
Ready.
Yep.
All right. Take it away in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood
Beady. Okay, Buck.
and Justin Robert Young.
Hi, friends. It's
Then you
me.
got to do Mr. Theopolis.
Oh wait! Is that the dude who was wearing what's his name?
Twiggy, the robot,
Yep.
had the little electronic brain. It was they're basically.
And by the way,
R2-D2
Twiggy wearing the electronic brain. He was like my generation's Flavor Flav in 1977. You know, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
So we're talking, of course, about Buck Rogers, the 1970s, early 80s show, I believe, and they had a little robot Twiggy whose head looked suspiciously like.
A 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, we'll describe it as that. And
I mean,
then,
it was very mushroom shaped.
Yeah.
I see what you're going for now. It took me the longest time to realize that, you know, because Dr. Theopolis was the one that was chatting all the time. Twiggy was
There's
just
a
kind of
person
dumb
cosplaying
muscle.
as Twiggy. That was cool.
What's that?
There was a little person cosplaying as Twiggy.
Wait, isn't that the actual actor?
No, it's a person cosplaying.
Oh,
as Twiggy.
sorry. I don't want to break the illusion, but I was always confused. Like, I was like, there was Dr. Theopolis spent so much time talking that I just assumed, oh, it's like a symbiote thing. And then when Twiggy would butt in with this helpful stuttering, I was
Mel
like,
Blanc doing Twiggy.
what's that?
I think that was Mel
God.
Blanc.
Oh,
doing
really?
Twiggy.
Oh, wow. You're right. It was. Huh.
Right to go, Buck. Yeah. Anyhow,
Wait,
we
wait,
digress.
real quick, before we move on, this is one of the few times I get to mention this crossover. Justin and I, at Dragon Con half a decade ago, went on a quest to get a bunch of people to say science fiction lines that were not in their genre. And we got Buck Rogers to say, "May the Force be with you."
Gil Gerard.
Yeah, Gil Gerard. It was amazing.
That's pretty cool. Were all the Firefly actors really cool?
Not so much, Andrew.
Jewel State was amazing. She was
All right,
utterly
sweet. I hear
delightful.
she's awesome. So, gentlemen, we are this is almost the 50th anniversary of the Kecksburg UFO incident, which was one of the most famous UFO incidents in all of UFO lore. There was a fireball across the sky December 9th, 1965. It was seen across 6 states and Ontario, for those of you that are counting. And then it apparently landed in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, 30 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. And there was all sorts of accounts that the military showed up, that they carried away some sort of UFO, and there's even a monument to the crash. It looks a lot like an acorn. People said there was some sort of Egyptian writing. There were even accounts of maybe people saw bodies and stuff. And it's lived on in UFO lore for a long, long time. And it's been, almost up there with Roswell. Kecksburg is, probably referenced lots of times in like X-Files and other stuff. And it's been this, wow, what happened kind of story. And I actually used that as sort of a basis for a short Jessica Blackwood story I wrote called Fire in the Sky, which was just sort of, exploring the explanation behind a lot of those sort of sightings. But I didn't have the explanation behind this one. And now we think we know what happened.
So as the legend is told, can you tell it to us as though Justin and I are bumpkins there in, you said this is in, New Mexico?
Kecksburg, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Oh, so northeast. It's colder.
Yeah, the New Mexico.
Pennsylvania, New Mexico.
Okay, so we'll do the same bit I was thinking of, only we're wearing layers, and there's like a couple of horses drawing a carriage behind us.
So you look up in the sky and you see a bright fireball streaking across the sky. Okay, other people see this too. You talk to your neighbors. Everybody sees this. Everybody, you pick up the phone. You call a little, Aunt May in the nearby county. Same thing. Everybody's seen this thing. Middle of the night, army trucks roll through your town, right? And go to some distant location outside of the town. And then you see them. They're basically trying to shut everybody down, keep everybody from, the streets or whatever. And then the army trucks come rolling out of town with something covered underneath a tarp, and they won't tell you what happens. In fact, they deny.
And this happens
anything
when?
happened. What's that?
What time period does this happen?
50 years ago.
1965, 50 years ago.
So this is at the height of, I guess, the beginning of the height of the nuclear scare, the Cold War. And this is, my friend Brady tells a story about him going on a vacation in Colorado. And in one of the most surreal moments of his entire life, they sit there as they watch something gigantic streak slowly across the sky, and just and I believe it was a particularly famous, well-seen, well-documented meteoroid coming in, but they didn't know it at the time. And in a pre-internet age, in mid-1980s, the only thing he had to go on was when his dad watched it go across and offered the helpful assessment of, "That's a goddamned ICBM." And so they continued on their vacation wondering if the world had ended, waiting to find out, but in the meantime going swimming and so on. I would imagine that it's a similar situation here. At the height of the Cold War, you see a fireball streak through the sky, you think maybe it's a meteor, maybe it's a shooting star, maybe it's some Russian spy equipment, or maybe they're shooting a capsule with some reds
Want
in
me to
it.
run through the theories for you?
Yeah.
So on the slightly more sane is they thought that perhaps it was a Russian satellite called the Cosmo 96. In this article I'm reading, it's spelled with a C, but it's actually a K. And there was a lot of, that was sort of the claim was, it was this, but people that may have come down on that same night, but that had been debunked by other people, apparently debunked by saying that no, the Cosmos trajectory, which is totally off, it would not have been it because orbital mechanics are very precise. It could not have been that. Then there were some more crazy theories. Some have suggested that it might have been the Nazi Bell, a World War II era experiment related to gravity and time travel.
Okay, so let's talk that one through real quick. Let's say it's just a Nazi artifact in orbit. Wouldn't it be extraordinary for it to have stayed up almost 20 years? Right? Do we have... like Skylab didn't stay up that long.
Brian.
Mir didn't stay up that long.
Brian.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
A Nazi experiment related to gravity and...
What time travel? Oh, so you're saying it just went forward in time is all.
Duh.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Okay. Can we quick sidebar? I almost feel like this could be months of topics for us, because there have to be in a published archives, right? Just a litany of like actual, like at some point the Nazi stamp of approval got put on 1.5 million different kinds of crazy pants ideas, right?
Yeah. Well, I believe Google calls it 20% time.
Yes,
where it's like,
exactly.
hey man, let's go a little nutty, and we'll
Well,
put the
in
Google logo.
in any situation where obviously far-flung military research is at the highest priority, and you have a top-down authoritarian system where you only really need to know the predilections of one or two people above you to get signed off on something, you've got to figure that, is there any backing to the Nazi bell? Like, is this an actual thing, or was that just what people thought the Nazis were up to?
I don't know. The first time I encountered the Nazi bell was 3 minutes ago.
Dude, this is what's great. This is what a rich
of Nazi experimentation in the world of the weird.
This is
You
what
know, if they stopped all those crazy experiments and focused more energy on winning the war,
yes, then we would all be speaking
less
German
moon
right
bases. You know what I'm saying?
now. Dude, but think about it. Like from a
But
game
Nazis on the moon.
from a game theory perspective, this is what you want, right? You want everyone to assume that your reach expands into things like time travel and unleashing hell spirits on Earth and so on.
This is my business plan. So you run into a problem too, is that the Cosmos 96 thing, and I said apparently been debunked, but one of the problems you have is if we had recovered this Soviet satellite at the time, it would be very much in our interest not to let them know that we have recovered it. You would do everything you could to dispel it, and you would try to, anything you could to discount that. And the problem is that long after the people who did the debunk or the spelling of those rumors or whatever have retired or died, you don't have an oral history, or you don't have a history of what happened, and that's why some of these things we don't know. We think that a lot of UFO sightings that we saw, over the United States, many of them could have been surveillance planes from the Soviets. They did flyovers too, and it was not in our interest to reveal to people like, oh yeah, our air defenses aren't quite as tight as we think they are. And if something like that crashed and we had access to a plane or a pilot, it would be in our interest not to let anybody know, etc.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things. It's like in
Well, that's
war.
the name of the show, Brian, of course.
In war, full stop. When you're at war, kind of all bets are off, and everybody does really weird things for their own interest, and they go out of their way to not explain it to the other side, which only makes the Cold War this wonderfully strange 50-year arc in our history where you had everybody diverting all their resources into the weirdest crap possible to poke around on the fringes, to see if we're able to spy on the other guy, to launch stuff into space, to drop dummies from various altitudes to take a look. And also, underneath that is this layer of never admit to any of it. Either side, if we get their downed, fake spacecraft, then we don't say anything, and they don't admit that they have it, which only leads, the populace hungry for answers, continuing to pursue weirder and weirder explanations.
I had a friend that worked in the Pentagon, was in the Air Force, actually taught at the academy. I had him one day tell me one thing, relating to the Iraq War or something like that. And 4 years later, he told me the exact opposite thing. The exact opposite. His position was, oh yeah, we know blank. And then no, that was never true. Never acknowledged that he had told me the complete opposite thing.
Yeah.
And stated as his own earned knowledge. Oh yeah, no, we know this. And then 4 years later, it's like, no, there's no case for that at all. And I'm like, wait, you said.
I've been saying this because you told me.
Yeah, and then well, I don't know. Well, that was done, and it's like the other conviction at which it was explained to me, which people, in any environment, especially the military, or I was told this is true. This is what this is, and that becomes so much of what happens. And I was talking to somebody whose father was like the commander of the watch at one of these military installations, and when you're commander of the watch, you can go anywhere you want, go anywhere in the base. You have complete authority to, but he could not go into the basement of the hospital, and there were 2 guards there that would not let him have access to there. And that was like, what was going on in there? What was going on in the basement of there? And you could see very much how, for some people, well, that's where they had the aliens. And for me, it'd be like, well, if you had some technicians who were monkeying around with an ICBM and they got exposed to some radiation, that's where I'm going to send them. And I'm not going to tell anybody what the hell's going on. I mean, there's a lot of other causes and reasons you could do that. And so much of what we do in secrecy, there are secrets that we have that we say, yeah, no, a lie's okay. A stupid lie is okay. And that's probably what happened with Roswell, where we had this high altitude listening device that the military is like, well, people want to say UFOs. Sure, that just leads them further astray from what we're actually trying to do here. In the case of Kecksburg, a compelling theory has come forward as to what it is. It's not Martians, it's Venusians.
Wait, what?
No, I'm making that up. It is a
fiery
there's an
hot
article-
magma beings from the planet Venus have invaded.
The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, 5 decades later, the Kecksburg UFO is identified, parentheses, probably. And this is by Dan Majors, and in it they speak to a researcher who have come to the conclusion they think what it was a failed launch of a U.S. satellite, that it was a, quote, a General Electric, what was the description?
General Electric Mark II reentry vehicle.
Yeah. So it was in the nose cone of Thor, Atlas, and Jupiter rockets in the early 1960s. And I think that perhaps that there was some breakup and that thing fell back down to Earth, and that was what the recovery was.
I got to tell you, there was a news story. Man, it must have been shortly after. One of the most life-changing things I ever did was take a physics course, Physics 341 at the University of Texas, called Pseudoscience and the Paranormal. And it just changed the way I viewed everything. And it brought this layer of skepticism over everything from late-night infomercials to stories of astrology and Bigfoot and so on. And on the local news was some guy, talking about like, I mowed my farm one day and the next day there was this. And it showed what looked like a giant, crumpled, rusted milk can. And he gave that old folksy shrug as he said, like, well, it can't come from here, can't come from there. Only one place it could come from. And he points at the sky. And I was like, oh, whatever. This guy, it's like he didn't notice. Why would you act like this is some alien stuff? Sure enough, totally wrong. 5 days later, the U.S. government is like, yeah, no, that's almost certainly the second stage of this rocket that we just fired off to send this satellite into orbit. And so it's like, on the one hand, it's tempting for everyone to, just shrug shoulders and be like, came from aliens up there. But on the other hand, stuff does fall from real government and private institutions, and it's got to end up somewhere.
I have a sneeze I'm trying to suppress. So
Oh, okay. I thought I had just blown your mind or something.
I found out, if you were watching the video version, that Andrew's "I have an amazing point I want to make" face is the exact same as "I have a sneeze that I'm holding back."
I was afraid that
I feel it just hovering there, and I'm about to talk, and I'm like, maybe it'll happen.
I was afraid I was going to get the, that's the dumbest thing anyone's ever said, Brian.
Well, I was thinking that, Brian.
Of course you did. You always are.
All right. Well, let's take a look at. So this is thought to be an American rocket or some spacebound craft that has fallen to Earth. You got to wonder though, with a lot of that Cold War stuff, in just the nature of how things are kept secret, that when that era came and went, you had a lot of files that were just like marked as very high security clearance, and you got to wonder how much stuff is literally just still there that like not only has elements of secrecy just compounded upon people coming in and coming out and just not knowing where stuff is or that stuff just remains secret in a way that maybe it doesn't need to anymore.
There's a lot of stuff that if you ask the right questions, you'll get the documents, but nobody knows what the right questions are to ask or where to go to.
Yeah.
So much of that, is just buried away in these archives, as you point out, that until somebody says, oh, well, can you give me, all of the expenditure reports from, a military base in 1963? And they're like, oh, now I know. And so we don't know what we know. And that was one of the cool things about Raiders of the Lost Ark was at the very end is the shoving the Ark into the warehouse, because the idea was, what's the best place to keep this secret? Among all of this other crap.
Yeah. Just bury it amongst, finally, the Ark of the Covenant meets its greatest shroud, the United States bureaucracy.
Yes. Now there are all these interesting stories that I was talking to somebody who was relating that, several astronauts have talked about, like, on their, when they've been up in space or when we were going to the moon and stuff, things that floated around the windows. And we know now that one is that, it's whatever goes in motion stays in motion. So if you're going to go head in that direction, you have debris and stuff floating around you, it can tend to stay around you. But there are descriptions of things behaving that they thought totally non-Newtonian, they could not describe, whatever. But there can be other principles at play there, weird electrostatic things like that we haven't even thought about. But then there's the idea that, well, maybe it's something else, but maybe it's not. I don't think we need to go to the explanation of aliens because there's no reason to do that. But we have this idea that sort of there's Earth and then there's the moon, and that's kind of it as far as this part of our solar system, when in fact you have Lagrange points where you have things and collect and debris in there. You have what are called Trojans, which are asteroids that follow sort of a similar sort of path as the Earth does. And so there's a lot of larger debris, but there could be other things. And a very interesting announcement today, which obviously this would not be what anybody saw there, but is that there could be dark matter accumulating behind the moon.
On the dark side of the moon, right?
Yes, on the far side of the moon. Let's call it that.
Okay. Sorry.
Actually, the far side of the moon is what the second most popular planetarium plays at midnight on Saturdays.
Well, I mean the side that's dark to us can also be lit.
So real quick, I unfortunately before the show I was talking about there was some story that I thought would make a good thing for Weird Things, and I forgot which story it was and I couldn't find it. However, I announced on Twitter that we're live now recording, and a random fan just sent me a link that blew my mind. Now, I know normally you play the Game Master here, Andrew, but I have a scenario that I'd love to see if the two of you guys
let me
can
just
figure
finish
out.
up this whole thing about the dark matter.
Okay, yes.
So, in your report, scientists say huge clumps of dark matter may lay just beyond the moon. They predict up to densities of 1 billion times greater than normal. And man, I was in the process of trying to send this link to Bryce, but I'll never win. He'll find it before I click send. He's too good. He's too good. So this is a very interesting observation that we have. Dark matter is sounds kind of cool.
Describe. Act like I don't know everything about dark matter here. Just describe to me
Let's
what
pretend
dark matter
for just
is.
a minute that we don't all have PhDs
Yeah,
in theoretical
listen, I'm
physics.
a well-known and well-respected name on the subject of dark matter, but let's just pretend like I don't know.
Okay,
crap.
so when you look at a map of, let's say, the galaxy, the universe, and you look at how stars are moving, and you look in the directions that they're going,
Okay.
Something appears to be holding things together. There's not enough matter to keep them spread about the rate that they are, which implies that there is something like 70% of the matter is actually matter we cannot see. It's some of a form of matter that we're not able to detect, but it has a gravitational influence on all the other matter, because it's just the way when you look at it, say, a galaxy and how it starts to form in its little spiral, right?
Right. So it's like the way I understand it is that a galaxy, you of course have a bunch of stars, but if you run a computer model and you plug in like, well, how many stars are there? Well, we know there's this many stars. And how much do each star weigh? Well, they weigh that much or whatever. Let's make a galaxy out of that. And now let's do a model where it spins and spirals. What you get is something fundamentally different from the observed nature of spinning galaxies, right?
Gotcha.
Right.
So there's some tide or momentum that we can't see.
Correct.
Something that has mass, right? So that's what dark matter is, okay? And that may account for something like, I think, 70% of the matter in the universe is actually dark matter.
Which is problematic when you have to be all like, hey man, theory of gravity is great, except for it totally doesn't work at all, and we need to correct for it to the tune of like less than half of all the observable matter in the universe accounts for this kind of motion. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah, and the matter would be forming these tendrils or these streams, so it would be this sort of, and that's why they think there might be some tendrils or streams just beyond, where the moon is. And that implies something else entirely too, is there's this entire web or network of this matter basically combining everything in the galaxy. And then when it gets really weird, though, is you look at how the galaxies are expanding away from each other. You're saying, well, wait, what's going on there? And that's when dark energy comes into play. And that's this other force which is pushing things on a larger scale apart. And that's something like 99% of the universe is this dark energy, which we can't see.
That's the one
God.
I've heard explained that because everything is moving farther apart and the speed at which it's going is increasing over time, there's a number of implications. That's part of the reason that gives credence to the theory that the end of the universe will be in a heat death of the universe, right? Like everything's going to spread apart, much like a can of Freon. Once it's under pressure inside the can and you press go, everything expands super fast and it gets super cold in your hand. That's essentially what's happening to the entire universe, right?
It's freezing to death.
Yeah.
I can feel
Oh
it
my
here in
God.
Burbank.
Global cooling. You heard it.
Wait a minute. It actually, dude, it's just like it's gotten real cold around here. Like over the last 2 weeks. This is, oh man. Can't-
Duh. Let's do our sponsor talk.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It might be the universe might be cooling to the point where we're all gonna die, but you can keep us warm at night and your self as well with the Weird Things Patreon. Head on over to weirdthings.com. Patreon.com/weirdthings. You can support the show. Thank you to everybody who made November so awesome. As per usual, we see some folks reshuffling some of their donations. But if you would like to become a part of Team Weird Things, head on over patreon.com/Weird Things. It gives us the ability to not only pay for Bryce Neshcom Castillo, who is our amazing Google Foo producer that keeps everything up there on the screen, but also gives us a little discretionary income to spend on the show when we need it. So head on over patreon.com/Weird Things.
Yeah, man. Only $68 away from that wonderful $666 per episode number. We had it for one whole week, people. Let's get back there. Hey, so I have a real life scenario for the two of you guys. I want you to imagine that you guys are standing in line, waiting to watch the new Star Wars film, The Force Awakens.
That one.
I don't know if you heard of it. All of a sudden, a couple of helicopters appear overhead. First, you guys are cheering because you think that, it's some kind of tie-in marketing thing. Then all of a sudden, some Spec Ops MI6 people drop down, and they put bags over your head.
But
they knock you out
because they're MI6 and British.
Well, okay. Actually, they're MI8 now that you said that. So fine. Don't make me take them to MI12 because they will go there. You guys get knocked out and you wake up, and there's we'll say he's German dude with
the Germans,
the circular glasses, and he says, "We have a mystery, gentlemen, and only you can solve it." He says, and
Does the accent keep going in and out?
Yes, he does. He's also wearing flip-flops and a Hawaiian shirt. And behind him, stoically, is the actor who played TC, Magnum PI's buddy who flew the who flew the helicopter.
How old is he?
I don't know. He's really old, but the German guy looks old in that old German guy kind of way.
Sorry, I'm not hearing into this. I've already left the building and running back to the theater.
No, you're on a helicopter. You can't go anywhere. And that
does not stop Andrew. Andrew runs right off the helicopter like a lemming.
And then he says, "We need you to explain this." And he opens up the door of the helicopter, and you're, I don't know, maybe 300 feet up, looking out on this field of crops, and you see dozens of crop circles. Now, these look very similar to crop circles the way you're picturing them, but they're a little bit sloppier than you see like on the cover of a Led Zeppelin album. What do you say, gentlemen?
Sloppy crop circles?
Sloppy crop circles.
Are these like just circles or I mean, because like the thing that makes a crop circle feel like it's something that's intelligent is the fact that it has a higher degree of precision. It's not just a circle. It's a thing that's like lines within lines within lines. Or are these just sort of disc shaped?
They're much closer. They're much closer to just being disc shaped. And even then, they're sloppy at that. They're circular patterns.
Disc.
Discish. Yeah, they're more like disc circles.
Yeah.
So, my first instinct would be animal. So like if you go to a lake, there's like lakes in Florida where if you go look, you'll see these round dome-like things in the water. These sort of like depressions, these round circular depressions. And what it is, there's a fish that will get in there, swim around and like put its eggs and swim around in sort of a circle and make basically which looks like a sand crop circle. So if I saw this thing, I might be thinking, like, I don't know,
Right.
do I get to inspect it? Do I get to see if there's some sort of animal presence there or something?
Very
That
good, Mr. Maine.
First things first. Hey, German. What are you even doing? Like, hey, we're trying to go see Star Wars right now. Really inappropriate and rude to drug us and put us on a helicopter. Number 2, TC, love your work. Number 3, how is this even something that you need to bring us in for? There's a million very, very well understood reasons why crop circles happen. And if these aren't more ornate or do anything to disprove or not suggest that the well documented way that people create crop circles is not in fact the case, then I don't know what we're doing on this helicopter.
Very well spoken, Mr. Young. Unfortunately, we know it's not made by people. We know it's made by an animal. We need you guys to figure out the animal that created these circles and the reason for having done so.
It's a snake. Because he wanted it.
It's always a snake, because weird things.
I'm trying to remember if we covered something like this before, where it was an animal that was leaving.
Organic, like see from the air crop circles.
Yeah, what kind of field is this?
It's a crop that it's a crop.
Is this something that's getting some animal high and it's just rolling around on the ground in circles?
I mean, it's used for medicine. It's a medicine field.
So is this like a cannabis crop or something?
No,
and things are getting
no,
high?
goodness, no.
No, it's poppies.
Poppies?
Okay, yes. Very, very good, Mr. Young. You have.
So something's getting high and rolling around in the ground.
Yes, but we need to know which animal it is.
There's only one animal German person in TC that could be possibly capable of consuming such raw opiates and rolling around with such power. Somebody find out where the Rolling Stones are on tour right now. I will guarantee you that Keith Richards has been there overnight.
If it's poppy fields and it's in, if it's not Southeast Asia and it's more in the Middle East, I would say it'd be like sheep. Are the ones that would be doing it, would be getting high and sort of rolling around.
All right, so Andrew's guess is sheep in the Middle East. Justin, what about you?
Wait, do we not get to know where this is?
Yeah, you could ask.
Where is this?
Where are we?
Yeah. Perhaps the reason for my terrible German accent is because I'm Australian, mate.
Oh, kangaroos.
Yeah, man.
Wallabies.
It's wallabies. Wallabies getting wicked high, running around in circles, stomping out crop circles in poppy fields. How amazing
All
is
right,
that?
just read the last 2 lines of that bolded lead there, Brian. In
Australian wallabies are eating opium poppies and creating crop circles as they hop around, quote, as high as a kite. A government official has said.
There we go. That's what I needed. I just need as high as a kite. Is that a government official?
I stumbled across the image when we were talking to about Tez on Night Attack the other day, but it's like in my mind, every time an Australian talks, it's always between mouthfuls of wasps that they're eating. That's amazing. High
Oh
as
my
a
God.
kite.
All right, so a wallaby went crazy and is just like, but I mean, I guess that's but nobody was mistaking this as like a crop circle thing, right? Like, or
Yeah,
were they?
well,
is that how it was found out, or was somebody like, man, my heroin crop is ruined? Damn you, wallabies!
So this is the Attorney General for the island state of Tasmania had to give a testimony to Parliament during a parliamentary hearing on security for poppy crops, because poppy is, of course, made for medical stuff. They make, they make morphine and so on. And so in her testimony, she said, quote, between mouthfuls of wasps, she said, "The one interesting bit that I found recently in one of my briefs on the poppy industry was that we have a problem with wallabies in entering poppy fields, getting high as a kite, and going around in circles." Laura Giddings told the hearing, quote, "Then they crash," she added. "We see crop circles in the poppy industry from wallabies that are high."
And the sharp needles they leave around there too are really problematic.
It's really unhygienic when you think about it. And actually, to your point,
the trend of junkies dressing in wallaby costumes.
Rick Rockcliffe, who has the most Australian name ever, a spokesman for poppy producer Tasmanian Alkaloids, said the wallaby incursions were not very common, but other animals, and this is giving you a high five here, Andrew, have been spotted in the poppy fields acting unusually. There have been many stories about sheep that have eaten some of the poppies after harvesting, and they all walk around in circles, he added. That's amazing, dude. And then
I think we need to figure out some sort of intervention from this. You know, this is first you get the poppy addiction. Great, we're gonna get some good music. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We're gonna get our own kind of Australian jazz and some other stuff coming out of there.
By the way, I do have to give a tip of the hat to Lovely Metalhead on Twitter for hitting us up. She's in the chat right now. That is a fantastic story, right up our alley.
By the way, lovely Metalhead, who has been around podcasts that I've done dating back to the Chris Angel report days.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow.
No, big shout out to Lovely Metalhead.
So it's an article I want to cover, but I want to kind of go straight to the source first here, and I'm trying to figure out. Entertain yourselves, gentlemen.
That's fun. Hey, real quick, now's as good a time as any for us to say that if you head on over to Google, one of our very own has an amazing project that he's working on that he's finally able to take public. Your friend of mine, Jaime Ruiz, aka Tensor Guy in the chat, has been working for nigh 2 years now, Justin, on this this display.
Oh yeah, no, in various incarnations and very seriously, over the last year. But just go ahead and Google HoloVect volumetric display, HOLOVECT. In fact, you could probably just Google that, and you're going to find it right there on Kickstarter.
It's good SEO, man.
What was that?
Oh, it's good SEO. There ain't no other HoloVect for you to compete with when you type that in.
Certainly not, man. So go ahead and check it out. It is a fascinating creation. And Tensor Guy, listen, I mean, even in this episode right now, you have seen him down in the chat room, his name providing some of the most amazing and insightful commentary on this and so many other shows that we've done. Go ahead and check it out. It really is unique and something that you got to get your eyes on.
For those of you guys audio only, this is the beginning steps of truly the fantasy. We've watched science fiction, we've seen volumetric displays, everything from freaking Iron Man to Avatar to the Return of the Jedi, to you name it. This idea of a projectable 3D volumetric display has been very, very difficult, and the reason it's difficult is because people are treating it as a problem that has to use a lot of processing power. And from what little I've seen of this in person, Jaime Tensor Guy has figured out a way to get a volumetric display in vector format using very, very little processing power. There's not a lot for it to do. You're able to have a fairly low-powered CPU, and yet it's true. It starts with a dot. The first time I saw it, and there was a single dot floating in midair, but it was able to move on the X, Y, and Z axis. It had true 3D movement. And once you can make a dot, you can spin it back and forth to make a line or a vector. Once you can make a line, you can make pretty much anything. And that's what he's trying to do with his Kickstarter. Just Google HoloVect. And if you want to throw some money his way, you can. Or if you can buy one of those for yourself, then you could be part of the revolution. It's a 3D technology that does not require any kind of standing in the right spot, wearing goggles, or none of that nonsense.
Check it out. HoloVect, HOLOVECT.
So I'm trying to figure out how to enter in an actual coordinate into Google Earth to have it go right to that coordinate. I don't know enough how to do that. So
Well, it should be. I think you could just cut and paste it if it's latitude longitude.
Where do I cut? I cut and I put it in the search box, and it says can't find it, but it's an actual address. Which
Maybe do blank comma blank. Is that in there?
Just on maps.google.com?
no, Google Earth. Google Earth.
Oh, Google Earth.
App.
You
might have to
Yeah, try
go
doing
to-
it on maps because I'm pretty sure I've cut and pasted coordinates into maps.
Because you can get the Earth view, the Earth satellite view on maps.
But maybe I'm not looking for the Earth view.
Oh.
Let me see if it'll do that. Let me see if
You can
that-
give us the coordinates. We can all play at home.
All right, here we go. Here we go. I may have this. All right,
You could post it in the chat, or if you want to give us the coordinates, say it out loud. Justin and I can guess what we suppose we're about to see before we look.
Hold on. All right.
And we'll edit all this out.
Bryce, it's in that document I sent you, or the email I sent you, the coordinates for it. And,
I gotcha. All right. There's a lot. There's multiple of them.
All right, I'm not looking.
Yeah. Also, I see.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the screen.
Please don't.
kind of big deal.
So there's a few of them here. Just any one of them?
Yeah, I think any.
Okay. Google Earth. And then
No, it just doesn't seem to work. All right, I've never figured out how to enter in those kind of coordinates, and I don't think they've ever put anything in there to sort of parse them and make it work right. So, gentlemen,
Yes.
All right, so yeah, all right, but what's up, bro?
oh, no big deal. Other than apparently, I don't know if you guys got the news because and it was a slow news week, so they didn't cover the huge entrance to massive underground alien UFO base found on Mars in Google Maps, says UFO hunters.
Blah, 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 blah. What's funny is you say that, and I expect that to be your hilarious interpretation of a civilized headline, and yet here we are looking at Inquisitor.com, and the headline definitely says huge entrance to massive underground alien UFO base found on Mars in Google Maps, says UFO hunters. So
Here we go. Inquisitor, the old gray website.
the old gray wizard.
The old gray wizard.
Okay, so we're looking right now via Google Earth at Mars, and I assume we're gonna find a coordinate and zoom in on it.
So here we go. We are zooming in now to the surface of what? All right.
Yeah.
So
okay.
here's what I would describe as what we're looking at is I will describe for the audio listeners amongst the surface of Mars, and again, this is a fairly crude rendering of it in Google Earth. You have what looks to be a solid 3 lines of a solid entrance. It has almost a metalish kind of frame around it. One side is still the Earth, but it effectively just looks like Final Fantasy 2 level graphics of like where you would walk in to get a new map.
It does. It looks like to represent a garage. They just photoshopped most of a garage on there. But the problem, as we scroll around, is that the entire all the imagery is a patchwork, and as a patchwork, we've got all of these square artifacts all over the place.
So here we go. We're zooming in again. The first 2 that we saw looked the same. By the way, this video is called "Sensational Discovery: Martian City?" ?
Man, we really do live at. I thought yellow journalism was bad. Now in the clickbait era, it's just
geez,
like
I mean, this is red journalism at this point. So now, okay, so like now it looks like we see the bottom 2 parts of what had been obscured. Now in on either side of what looks to be a bit of a wasteland. Okay.
Oh, I didn't realize we weren't looking at the actual Google Earth. We're looking at
No,
somebody
this is
else's
somebody has recorded a
video
video
walking through it. Yeah.
doing this.
Can we hear a bit about what they're claiming?
Nope.
Oh, of course not.
Just a lovely little pad.
Synth pop. He's just gonna be like, relax, imagine yourself.
But there are
successful.
multiples of these like corner pieces that he's pointing out.
Okay,
right now.
so before we get to what this is almost uncertain, like almost certainly, let's make our best case. Andrew, how does this prove that there's a gigantic Martian underground city?
I mean, I'm sure the skeptics out there are going to point out the fact that these imaging systems are filled with all sorts of artifacts and sort of data things that tend to take on what look like sort of regular repeating sort of bits of information. And we saw before there's a really cool example of all the different tool impressions we've made, which this is obviously not. And so I say, instead of just jumping to the logical conclusion that it's probably an artifact or some sort of data thing that happens to this data because I don't really understand or know how these things are really compiled, I think we just got to accept it at face value and say that it's a UFO base.
Well, and more importantly, we have to figure out who's making the money to Photoshop out all of these obvious square holes in the Martian surface.
Yeah, and let me be clear, like I'm the guy that can't figure out how to get the coordinates to work in the Google Earth for Mars.
Yeah, so no matter what, the creator of this video has already beaten. If Andrew Main and the skeptics are so smart, why can't they make Google Earth work?
Oh, shit.
All right, so I mean, yeah, the idea here being that there are underground structures with vents that are leading out, right? So I guess either craft can get out. I don't know why they would be open like that.
I mean, no.
Right?
It's got to be
And
Borg.
in my defense, by the way, I can't even plug the coordinates that they show. This is how you do look for something into the search box, and get it to work. So
yeah. So
I mean, it's got to be like Borg cubes, right? Where it's like you have these giant kilometer-wide cubes flying around in space, and they got to come back and report back to Mars from time to time. So they come down and they just sort of dock in like giant USB drives where they connect to a global interconnected network beneath the surface.
listen, this is an amazing discovery, and I feel like all of our resources should be looking to send information and salutations directly into these holes on Mars.
I'll show up with two bowling balls and in bags and wearing a Hawaiian shirt with TC from Magnum PI.
Oh man.
So I'm going to leave this as a mystery. Gentlemen, want to do picks?
Yeah. But before we do, though, let's talk about how interesting is it that pareidolia or
Delia? Is it
pareidolia? Pareidolia. There's two words.
Pareidolia?
Pareidolia is the tendency to see faces and stuff, right? There's another word that means seeing shapes and amorphous other things. But it's like we already have that built into us. We want to make signal out of noise. And now, man, oh man, do we have a lot of noise to work with. Everything from, in the early 2000s, EVP was a big deal, as both Andrew Main and I wrote routines about. But nowadays, we have the noise of the entire map of alien worlds. We have genuinely alien places, which is why
I have a friend that after that last launch that looked really spooky and weird, he's like, yeah, I've been going over the footage, and he works in video, and he's like, I've been doing some enhancements and stuff, and I'm seeing some interesting things. I'm like, dude, it's a rocket launch. It's a rocket launch. You have no baseline to compare this thing to, and now he's like, yeah, but or he's like some other footage like I'm seeing, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna see things that you're not gonna understand or recognize if you do freeze frame grabs or you enhance stuff or whatever. You're gonna get artifacts, you're gonna get stuff, and if you just keep looking hard enough, you're gonna find something that, creates something that looks like it's a shape or something, but it ain't.
Yes. A Apophenia, Apophenia, is the
A lesser known Queen album, but it was still
general category of seeing patterns in random data. Apophenia. Apophenia, whatever. Apophenia.
I would like for this to be the entire podcast. It's just trying to get that word right.
I think that's probably part of the uphill battle of being a skeptic is all these terms are really hard. And like, well, that's clearly a type 1 error, not a type 2 error.
Where is that? Oh, as we all know, those two types of apophenia, pareidolia.
Aquafina, we're seeing as a possible pronunciation. A pup for Enya.
A plug for Enya?
Papa Feelin. You should probably report that to the authorities.
Sail away, sail away, sail away.
Popcorn fields, yeah.
All right, I think it's time to move on,
is that your pick? Your pick is that disorder?
A poppy field, yeah. No, man. I've got a weird pick this week. It's a book I'm reading, and I can't tell if I like it or not. I find parts of it incredibly trite and obvious, and then other parts I find insightful, and I get surprised by some stuff I didn't know actually happened. The whole book is nothing but hand-wringing about what kind of crimes people are going to come up with thanks to the interconnected nature of the internet. It's a fairly recent book, but the book is called Future Crimes, and I'm listening to the audiobook. It is a big, big, long audiobook, and it's 2 out of 3 stories. It's talking about like, oh, these guys committed a crime, and guess what they used to plan their route? That's right, Google Maps. And how do they know that those people weren't home? That's right, they searched on Facebook. And that half of the book is very tedious and annoying, but occasionally it'll bring up interesting, bigger ideas for, when he's at his best when he's thinking up crimes that haven't yet happened but are plausible that would take advantage of stuff. He did do a good job of like explaining, how the U.S. apparently allegedly helped create Stuxnet with the interests of spinning up, messing with the centrifuges in Iran to keep them from being a nuclear player and so on. There's some fascinating stuff, but unfortunately, the smart stuff that surprised me keeps getting washed over by so much eye-rollingly after-school special stuff where it's like, and this person said they were going to a concert, which is why their house was robbed.
It sounds like the person that writes the leads for the evening news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out how
program
Facebook
you
is the
use
reason.
every day could lead to your entire life being destroyed. More at 11.
Remember, I remember the 90s where they would always get the B-roll of they'd put a blue light in the room and some kid on a computer. Do you know what your kid is doing in there? Clickety, 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 clickety. And it's like the glow of the monitors. They're entering some dark web of deceit and stuff. I mean, which we all did, but, hey, got to grow up somehow. Better there than the back of a van. You know what I'm saying? Right?
I hear you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, I mean, this seems to be extraordinarily well reviewed. The Amazon is just a litany and who's who of praise.
I mean, that's why I'm sticking with it. It's just that so far I'm a third of the way through the book, and it's like just so much of it is, and clearly somebody over 30 wondering how those under 30 can just live their whole life in public, and it's like. Here's the problem. The problem is, as he describes any crime, you can name some surrogate device or service that was around 30 years ago and make it sound just as awful. Where it's like, you could say, before going off to assassinate this woman, these people planned their route using a Rand McNally road atlas. And to verify she was home, they even picked up the telephone and called her phone number to see if she would answer.
He hung out by the service station waiting to see which families were filling up with their, grandma's luggage on top. I mean, the only I don't want to get too nutty here, but like
Go for it. Let's get nutty. It's weird things.
when it comes to social media, I don't bring my politics to there. I try not to. I try not to bring my politics to there, particularly when some event happens or something like that. That's the worst time to go in there and tell people this is why we need to do X or Y or whatever, because we're emotional. We're reacting.
This is why we need to do X. We're all
Yeah,
going
or
to die from murderers.
or
Let's get
Z.
wicked
The
high.
other two, they're better forms of it. They're much higher grade. Because we're very emotional and we put our stuff in front of other people's faces and stuff like that. And part of the reason is we are driven by emotion. And most people right now, I get in discussions, do not have an accurate picture of what are the overall violent statistics. They've been declining. They don't know this. They just intelligent people do not know this, and people who don't even watch the news all the time but who are a little bit more maybe well read don't understand these things. And then the things coming out of our mouths are ideas and policies and stuff like that are maybe come from, they're ultimately there might be a right point of view, but they're driven by emotion and a lack of understanding of how the world really works and what's been going on. And that's things like books like this and stuff like that. It often seems like it plays into that culture of fear, that idea of and to sell that book, I'm sure this author had to say, let me come up with all these scary scenarios and all these stories about technology, because that's what the editors want. Like, oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, let's really stick it in to show like how this new thing, has all this peril for it. And we become less in touch with how things really work.
When I was a young lad, I was once talking to a friend of mine named Andrew Main, and there's a quote that has always stuck with me about future shaming. The idea that we are kind of talking about of just like, oh well, it's always our own self-flagellation as humanity, that it's like look, our advancements are indeed our downfall, and it is just this very human need to ascribe progress a cost, and that's what all this kind of stuff is. But the quote that Andrew had was imagine the panic years ago that, well, in the future, how grotesque we will become with our search for immortality, that we will have banks of blood, human blood kept where it should be coursing through our veins. Instead, we'll keep it in a dusty old room so we can chase our need to live longer.
That was based on an actual Newsweek opinion piece at the back of it, which was this guy was talking about the dangers of his fear of cloning. Imagine the horror of of a room full of brainless bodies serving no other purpose than to provide you tissue. And I'm like, okay, get to the bad part. Right? You said brainless.
No, definitely. Like from scratch, grow a copy of my body that is perfect, minus the head. Just don't bother to do a head on it. Maybe give a brain stem so it could do autonomic functions. A backup liver sounds pretty rad to this guy.
And on that note, one of the really interesting conference that took place this week was not the one in Paris, but it actually was a group of scientists and bioethicists getting together to talk about the CRISPR technique. CRISPR is the technique that allows, there are two versions of it. One's even more precise than the other. Precision gene editing, like getting down there and figuring out a specific gene, swapping it out with another one, and then also what we call gene drive, which can then mean that every descendant of that person will now have that modification. And it is a scary technology. I do not dispute that at all. But if you look at the quality of life for people who suffer from diseases and conditions that impact them, they have with them for the rest of their life, and you think about what is the potential when we can start to eliminate those diseases and give everybody the chance to live a healthy life like the rest of everybody else. It's an amazing technology. And again, these things need to be approached with rationality. These things need to be approached with sober, intelligent people weighing the options and stuff. But for some people, it's, no, man dare not go there. I'm like, well, if you have a hereditary disease, maybe you might feel a little bit differently, So.
Yeah, so much of back to this book, Future Crimes. So much of it is just the horror of, don't you realize everyone can see what you're doing in public? Blah, hand wringing ensues. It's weird. weird. It's
I mean, this is what I can understand to be frustrating. The quote on the Amazon page from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, their review of it: by the middle of the first chapter, you'll be afraid to turn on your e-reader or laptop, and you'll be looking with deep suspicion at your smartphone. And it's
yes.
listen, there are great and amazing and important lessons that we have not have not been drilled into our heads. And there's a reason why everybody should be watching Hack 5 and Threat Wire and stuff like that, where people who are very understanding about what the vulnerabilities of our technology, like Darren Kitchen and everybody out there are, can give real world understanding to where you can take actual steps to protect yourself and your family and your identity. But we don't need to pretend like there are demons in the machine, or that these things are inherently evil or will only grow more evil the more that we rely on them. They're tools like anything else, and there's ways that you can protect yourself like anything else. Like it just doesn't need to be Frankenstein.
Yeah, I'm with you.
My pick is once again, Andrew is late to the party.
Oh yeah.
Literally last year, I started talking about The Wire. Okay, no, Andrew, everybody saw that show. I'm like, oh, okay, because season 2 is in. All right, shut up about season 2 of The Wire.
Yeah.
Now, what is it? What am I on to? It's not The Wire. No, take that off the screen. So, people are like, what? You didn't get in this even though Brian talked about it? Like, Brian talks about a lot of things. Brian gets excited. Brian's an excitable man, It's in his genes. I at first I'm like, yeah, this is like, there's a lot of cartoons out there. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of in that weird fantasy realism sort of space that like every cartoon exists, and like maybe I'll check it out. And then I checked it out and I watched the first episode, and then I watched the second episode and the third episode, and thoroughly. And now I'm halfway through season 2. I'm only letting myself watch one episode a day after I finish my writing, and that is Rick and Morty.
So talk us through the process of discovering it, because I know that, again, like this is part of the reason I value your opinion as a friend, is that you're not easily bullied into joining hype trains on anything. So it means something knowing that, for as much as both, first me shouting at Justin and then Justin getting on the hype train, to have you on the hype train as well is a pretty big deal. How did you end up taking your first taste?
All right, I'm going to let everybody in on Andrew's formula for handling pop culture and media stuff. Is a lot of times people talk about something because it's new and it's different. Like, this is new and this is different. It's new, it's different. Oh my God, this is new and different. And everybody talks about it, right? Does that mean it's really great? I mean, it appeals to the novelty-seeking parts of our brain where we want that, but then I wait and see a year later, are people still talking about it? A year later, are people as excited as they were before? And if they are, I'm like, oh, that means it's probably pretty good. There are a lot of TV shows like, oh man, that first episode's great. First couple things, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what if that thing has steam to it. Because sometimes there's a really, really neat premise that just runs out and then there's nowhere else to go.
Which is why Andrew will be seeing Star Wars The Force Awakens 1 year from 2 weeks.
Yep. I'm very, there's so much out there. There's so much good stuff out there. And so with Rick and Morty, after season 2 finished and people are still raving about this. And then I looked at the different groups of people raving about it. Like I remember, there was Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I mean, like, oh, it's funny, but it's not like, changed my life funny. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I thought Archer was really well done, but Archer, I kind of dropped off after Archer Vice, and I'll have to get back into it, and that's, everybody goes through that. But with Rick and Morty, was just part of it was just the beats per minute, the amount of creativity that went into that, where you're watching a scene and you look at what's going on in the background, you look at what's going on, everything around. So many times I had to stop and rewind just to look at stuff, because it's not like a cartoon where I felt like there was just this 22-second teleplay that they were trying to follow through. Justin Roiland and the other writers there are cramming so much stuff into there. I was like, oh my God, this is like so much just happened in the last 3 minutes or whatever. I'm amazed. The complexity of it, and then spoiler alert, the first season, the episode where their reality gets destroyed, so they go into a parallel universe, and Morty has to deal with the sheer horror everything has weight. You know, there's not a reset button at the end of every episode. Is that all of this is weighing on Morty, and his character is building, 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 and or he's just kind of walking around and he's numb because it's like, yeah, everything you know is gone, and we're just going to step into this other reality and just pretend that didn't happen.
So speaking fan to fan, I don't know if you heard, but in the second season, I don't know if you've noticed already, but like none of the threads in the second season pick up from the first season. Like there's all these ideas that they just put out there, and that in interviews they said, yeah, when we wrote the second season, it never occurred to us to tie anything into the first season because we just assumed nobody was going to keep watching, and so. As a result, as they go into the third season, they're, for the first time, going back, looking at all these interesting ideas that they sort of set up.
What
like
what they
Evil
did
Morty
do
and so
was
on.
second season picked up right after first season. That episode was, there was a bridge there.
Right.
As far as that other stuff, what's the Rick character is fascinating because oftentimes you write a cartoon character and they're just this sort of, they're crazy eccentric scientist. It's the crazy eccentric scientist. And then you start to get a realization of this is a guy that's essentially kind of all powerful and has been around, seen everything and all this. He is kind of like the traveler that could give an F. You know, he's kind of like, yeah, I've been there, I've done that. Yeah, I've met 1,000 versions of you. And it's not that he probably started off totally almost, he's not amoral. He's not sociopathic completely. But you see that they're in his own arc, the idea of like, yeah, this guy kind of became this version of himself because of the S stuff he's seen, you know. And I love that. I go, oh, this is the guy that shows up on the beach, you know, after the shipwreck, and is like, humanity, you got nothing on me, you know.
By the way, lovely metalhead who submitted that story earlier apparently made the world's worst drinking game and got super hungover. With the rules being sip every time Morty says Rick and Rick says Morty. You're instantly dead by the end of the show.
Believe it. So anyhow, if you have not checked out Rick and Morty, it's brain candy. I mean, it's just candy. I mean, I savor each one of those episodes, and it's probably my favorite cartoon of all time. And you know, and it really wonderfully explores the medium of cartoons because it's not a show that pacing you can't do in live action.
No, you can't. And it is, you know, such a great, I love it as just, you know, a commentary on genre writing and an understanding why it's great and why it's amazing and why it can be special and where it can explore things that doesn't necessarily, you know, that you can't do every episode, right? Like if you can't just randomly bounce from place to place in live action. It's so well done, so fun, and the writing on it is also just whip smart. It's great.
What about you, Justin? You got a pick?
Show us what you got.
We have all here. I would say I'm probably the biggest sports fan amongst the three of us. But yet we can all agree that 30 for 30s, the ESPN documentary series, is certainly worth watching for telling stories that are very interesting, even if you have little to no interest in sports.
Agree.
Have either of you guys seen, this is a newer one, The Gospel According to Mac?
No.
It is on Netflix right now, and it might be the greatest story. I don't know if it's the greatest 30 for 30. It might be the greatest story that they have ever covered in that series.
Huh. True story, I assume.
True story. Not only does it have all of the sports tropes of coach, adversity, you know, forgotten school with bigger rivals, you know, goes through a journey to success, but Coach Bill McCartney, you might also know as the founder of the Promise Keepers movement.
I did not know that.
He is a very, very devoutly religious man. Has so many. I'm like on the fence of either do I spoil half this so everybody goes to watch it, or do I just say it's really rad, you should watch it. I'll leave it up to you guys. Andrew, Brian? Do you want me to go into some of the interesting parts about it so it hooks everybody, or should I
just one?
leave it as it's-
Just give me one tidbit, and I'll watch it.
Devoutly religious man recruits a heavily scouted quarterback that's perfect to run his offense. First year he's in there, he's one of the best in the country. They finally experience some success at this school. The second year, his daughter comes into his bedroom and says, "I am pregnant with the quarterback's baby."
Uh-oh.
The quarterback, and they lay this plain. It's not, oh, they were sneaking around the coach's back because they're in love. Very little interest in the daughter or initially the baby. And so now this devoutly religious man has to publicly deal with the fact that his star quarterback has impregnated his daughter and is very much doesn't have very interest in marrying her, and now they have to wrestle with what they are going to do with the baby. And that is about 5 minutes of a hour and a half documentary, or maybe it's a little bit shorter, that is just jam packed. He is a very complicated man. He is somebody that was, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, was using a lot of the language that you see kind of today in terms of understanding what he deemed and said is white privilege toward black people in general and black athletes specifically. It was also very devoutly and loudly against gay people. And, it says that the idea of a gay lifestyle is an abomination. A complicated dude that I very, 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 very much recommend everybody watching, including the sports stuff is insane too. One of the craziest sports plays ever happened with this guy during a season that was very, very special and that ended in a very special way. Just insane.
Wow.
Well, gentlemen, it's been weird.
Indeed.
You're damn right it has.
All right, we're back.
Cool.
Okay, but
Let me hit my notes. That is at 1:09:44. Good show, guys.
Oh yeah.
We have some titles.
Yeah. Gotta get swifty.
Yeah.
We got Pop
I'm Feelin'
Ya and Papa Feelin' Ya. For whom the bell tolls, ... Nazis. Not another Nazi UFO teen movie.
I do like sloppy crop circles.
Sloppy crop circles.
The old
As
gray
Hoy-
wizard.
I like as high as a kite, but only if it's spelled HOIGH. And
Hoy.
Hoy is a
Hoy
kite.
is a kite.
kite.
Hoy is a kite.
A pup for Enya is down here, but yeah, some options.
Hoy is a kite. Hoy is a kite.
Boy, is that kite.
Hoy is a kite.
For me, it's
That's
between
not a-
sloppy crop circles and
That's
Pop,
not
I'm
a
feeling ya.
sloppy crop circle. It's Hoy is a kite. That's a sloppy crop circle.
That's a sloppy crop circle. Hey, later. Jerry, we were asking before, I didn't think you saw, did Ashley ever get in touch with Teasdale? Yes. John Teasdale slept through the Good Enough podcast today, and he was found. He was found sleeping safely in his bed with his, apparently the audio on his phone totally turned down, and alarm, I don't know. Who knows? He's fine. He's totally fine.
man, I wrote a
dude,
eulogy and everything.
I've been hearing all the ads for this this new Only Human podcast from WNYC.
You know what I hear when I hear those ads?
What?
Cha-ching! That's what Ashley and Teasdale hear. Cashed in, baby.
Yeah, good on them.
Alrighty, are we good to go for a little what do we call it? After things.
Yeah.
Do we have topics? Are we good to go?
Sure, we have topics.
We got topics.
You got topics right here.
Ooh,
This
we
is
got
some
them topics. You know what? I have a subject.
Here, wait, hold on, wait. Let me go get some props.
Oh,
There's a couple other topics there. I got so many topics. I don't even know where to start. I'll let these guys roll with it, and then I'll just jump into one of the topics I've written down.
yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. And just as long as we have enough time. Brian. Oh, he went to the bathroom. Part of me was like, he just walked away for no reason.
He's a rambler, man. You can't hold him down.
So yeah, I like Pop I'm Feelin' Ya for the Weird Things title.
Surely.
Ooh. Oh man, I'm excited for that.
It's like a box of delicious donuts.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or I should open it up and there's like a paper wrapped hamburger. Fries.
Like the Varsity in Atlanta.
Yeah, Wabbit Magic, I was wrong about that. That article was fake.
What article?
Oh, I had posted in the chat that I thought I'd seen that Rick and Morty is doing a Christmas special, and they definitely are not.
God, that's what a cruel joke for somebody to play on us.
Oh, damn. Very cool.
Take it away, gents.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know how much time I spend thinking about how to make an actual real lightsaber? Not enough. Not enough.
I do. I feel like I have a fairly good estimate.
I mean, actually, based on that Holovect display, there's no reason. Let's say you had an entire room filled with a suitable medium and a number of lasers, and you could, have motion tracking on a hilt. You should be able to hit a button, and a projection of a blade would come out and keep up with you as you spun it around, and then
Brian.
What?
I want a real lightsaber, all right?
Not me, man. I'm happy with the fantasy.
Step inside my room, stormtroopers, where I may defeat you.
That's fine. Yes, I'm okay with that.
No, we're not going in there, Bri. Sorry.
No, because also the stormtroopers have similarly set up like laser tag devices, and when they fire, a projection of a blaster bolt fires off, and goes along the vector they're aiming. I'm okay with all of this. I think that would be amazing. Have a giant arena, and this laser tag where you could play as archetypes. You could play as a Jedi or a stormtrooper or whatever. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good movie.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
We starting the show here?
Yeah.
Welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hi, it's me.
And Brian Brushwood.
Oh, yes. Very, very excited. The only thing that would make me more excited is if somebody were to have like an impressive physical update on their story of a product that they've brought to market over the last half year.
Well, my book, Magic and Mischief, which you can get... Oh, sorry.
Wait, no, you can. No, that's good. Keep going.
No, go. There we go. Magic and Mischief.
Justin, are you shipping the Contender?
What?
Oh my God, you guys, look at that. It's the box for the Contender. It's not just an elaborate fraud that I've been perpetrating on everybody.
Well, it is one box, Justin. It could just be a hollow box with nothing inside. I could go make that at FedEx office. Wait, what are those?
Guys, here's our
Instructions?
Our rules, right?
All right, but that I could print that on my home printer and see it's blank. There's nothing there. It's a
What? Those are cards. Hundreds and hundreds of cards.
All right, it's some flimsy paper stock, right?
High quality, full color
Wait,
cards.
no, it's thick. Look at that. Ooh, is that bone white?
dude.
So we finally got in from our manufacturer out in Dallas. All of the I guess it was probably 2,000, no, little under 1,000 decks that came to us. All the rest are heading to fulfillment centers around the country. So if you ordered on the Kickstarter at the 150 level, I spent the vast majority of yesterday putting together all of your packages. You are going to be receiving 2 decks. And here we go. This is my vine of putting them together. 2 decks, one of them signed. And then on top of that, a layer of other packaging stuff, the bipartisan button pack, and
Christmas tree filling. What is that?
What was that?
Is that from a Christmas tree that you filled it with? Pine needles?
No, they're like, I don't know. It's this black filling stuff that Meg and Fawn had from another project, but it works really, really well and it displays really well. So, so everything's going to be going out. It is all in boxes. We have everything printed up. USPS will be rolling by on Monday to pick them up. We could not be more excited to finally get this out, finally get this in the hands of people. You have no idea how nervous I am about people actually getting these in their hands and testing it out and playing it with their friends and actually like seeing what we've been talking about for these many months. But it is I don't know, man. I am awash with emotions, and finally actually seeing them yesterday for the first time, I just like I think people are really, really, really just gonna love this box. It has this, and when you see it in person, it kind of has this sense of like what the posters from the 70s looked like when they were new. Like it has this very retro, like it's not the relic. It is like how it was, when the Kennedy poster first went up. This is what it looked like in all of its colorful vibrancy.
True story. When I was a boy in our attic, which I'd go up there every now and then, I'd find there was like wooden crates, and I'd open up the wooden crates. And my father, during the 70s, used to do Secret Service details for presidential campaigns. And when he was on those campaigns, he would grab buttons or whatever and save some of those. And so I would go up into the attic, and there would be these old campaign posters and stuff, inside the crates that looked exactly like your design there. That had just been sealed away. The colors are still vibrant, still whatever. And it's neat. It's a really it's sir, you made a promise to people.
Yes.
That you were going to deliver this year
by Christmas.
And you worked your ass off, your whole team, everybody. You guys, you made a promise, and there were a number of opportunities where you had excuses that were presented for you, like, oh, well, these people said this, and now that we know that's not the case, we're off the hook because we can put the blame there. Like, oh, we could do this, but blank, turns out they're not as reliable. It's not us, it's on them. You had a number of opportunities to put that responsibility onto somebody else and to point it and say, no, we did everything we were supposed to do, but you did it. You did it.
Well, and the biggest decision was just saying, hey, look, we're going to put ourselves financially in a more difficult position to print this in the United States, because to try and do it in China would have just taken longer, and that, by the way, is the way that everybody does it. Everybody just does it in China, and it's not necessarily like the worst thing. We'll probably do future decks in China, but for us to make this promise, it was so important to us that a crowdfunding effort is a narrative, and it starts with you saying, having the fully fleshed out idea to say, come with us on a journey, right? And it goes through all that crowdfunding stage. And then what I think people forget so often is that, like, that's not the end. Funding is not the end of your story. That is, a great moment, right? It is a victory, but it's so much is just not where you need to take any time off. Like, that's the beginning of you making sure that you deliver on a promise. And that, for me, I know, is I don't fund creators who screw me over the first time. Mm-hmm. It is your online reputation. We talked about that on I forget if it was Weird Things or After Things last week, but the idea of the Chinese reputation calculation. It's like, although it makes me queasy to think of a totalitarian government having power over that, it is absolutely true in how we think of socially somebody, whether or not they are going to be able to put something in your hands. And you got to be realistic about it. You have to be smart about it. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. But the fact that these are going to be in the hands of anybody who believed in this idea by Christmas, to me, is just all worth it, because now people feel good about it. How much more willing are they to go on Amazon and write reviews? He said, foreshadowing the fact that he'll be hammering on this for the next 6 months. How much are they going to be willing to talk to their friends about it, to play it at a party game? If whenever they look at the box, they have a good feeling. Like, that's it's just gigantic. I mean, it's just the only thing that you can control when it comes to that sort of enthusiasm. It's just making sure that your narrative stays intact.
There's a big problem in social media often is, I talk to people who are like, yeah, I need to do blank, or I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. And I'm like, okay, yes, get a Twitter, get a Facebook, get all the stuff. But it's not just a matter of you just throw the stuff out there and then you carry on and do what you want and then expect that you can come back into it like some kind of carpetbagger and have all these people who follow you or whatever care and like you. That's not the way that it works. You might have people who click follow or whatever because, it sounds interesting. But if you're not engaged, if you are not participating in that, that is you're the person that shows up and says, yeah, I was there. Where were you? Well, you weren't there for anybody, And Brian spends more time than anybody I can imagine, back and forth talking to people in sometimes the most inane discussions I would never want to get involved with, but he does that. I make an effort. You reply me with a question. If I see it, I respond to it, and I check a couple times a day, and I try to do that. Justin, you're super engaged with that. And with your Kickstarter, that carried over with you guys because we've seen this before, and we've talked about it on this show, is somebody puts something out there in Kickstarter and is like, hey, everybody come here. And one is, one, they don't have an audience one to begin to start selling it to. They treat it like it's a catalog, thinking that everybody will find it. Sometimes a really compelling idea that can work. And then, the other thing is that we've seen this where the production delays happen more after delays, and some things you can't control over, but a lot of things you can. And then, oh yeah, we're announcing this for sale on Amazon, and like, I know we promised you guys would get it. You will, but if you want to get this, we need to do this. And it's like, whoa, you just screwed over your first most loyal set of customers. You will need you have just set the precedent for everything you will do from here on out. If you F over the people who are there for you when you were on the most shakiest ground, you're never going to recover from that. And that is a reputation in there. It stays with you forever. And I've seen that happen to a number of companies that they didn't project right, they didn't do right. Maybe they paid themselves too big of salaries or whatever, and then they have to make some sort of option to sort of bring the product to market. And part of that might be, being like, oh, maybe like, no, we didn't go against our promise. If they think you did, you did. If they think you did, it's the same effect as you did.
It's a bit like as a magician, it doesn't matter if they think the right method. The moment they have a method in their mind, they're not experiencing magic because they think they know how it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a discussion with a very famous magician who's about that, who not David Copperfield, not David Blaine, but it was a thing like, oh, what'd you think of this? Well, I mean, it looked like it could have been this. And he's like, no, it's not that at all. Ha. I'm like, well, no, it could have been that from what you did. You don't win because you did it differently, even though, you left enough conditions that were open to it it was just a weird misunderstanding. But yeah, it's where you start from. I very much, I have a project I'm working on with a friend right now, and we both talked. We said we want to do everything from a point of sincerity. We want to make sure that everything we do is that, doesn't mean we don't have to like be transparent and like, here's our business model, this is what we're making and all that, but very sincere about what our goals are, what we want to do for people, and not. I've watched other, and this is in the space of like tools and stuff or authors and stuff. I've watched other people in that space who are insincere that I know what they're telling me they want to do and what they really want to do are not the same thing, and that feels icky.
Yeah.
Well, here's something, and this can be kind of the center of after things, because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. There's a difference between the behind the scenes view and like the front of the store view, right? Let's say that you have a physical store. There's how you order everything in the back, and then there's the presentation that you have up front. And they are two very, very, very different things. And if you let either of them unduly affect the other one, you will either not get the most efficient way for you to do your business behind the scenes, or you will let the cold mechanical efficiency of how you do things behind the scenes affect the presentation and get an overcomplicated, not as easily understandable way of looking at things. Andrew, without getting too much into what you are working on something that will rely essentially on reputation and worth amongst authors. Like, if it does not have that, it will not grow. Now, when you look at it and say, okay, well, looking farther out, how can we make money on it? How can we, do this stuff? What you need to do, again, behind the house discussions, that if you are responsible about putting that much time and effort into something, you need to think about, you could easily cut corners, be disingenuous, because that affects the idea that you need to take pride in how people interact with it. And they can't feel like they are just a piece of a puzzle. It is going to give them worth in a very real way.
And you just touched upon something too that I think is kind of interesting. And I mentioned in previous podcast about what I liked about the way Brian and his team write their emails, their campaign mails. It's them talking to us. It's them talking to us. It's not, anonymous ink. And if you start off, and again, there are all sorts of conditions and stuff, and I'm sure people are going to catch me in contradictions on what I say best practices are later on. I know, I'm sure people are like, when you said this and you did this, I'm like, yeah, that was stupid of me. But I think that often what happens is people create, they have something sort of sketchy, or there's something about it they're uncomfortable with about the way the thing works, and as you start to take less pride in what you do, you don't want to engage in it, and you don't want to keep pushing the thing through and trying to do what you need to be doing. And I think that's a problem. If you want to create, you want to create a business that everybody likes and you feel good about in doing it. But if you're in a position where you deal with people who a lot of people are unhappy or feel like you misrepresent stuff, that can make things very challenging, very, very challenging, to where you don't want to do it anymore. Having a specific examples, but I'll give you an example. I have in the magic field. So one of the things is that I will do. I almost never would do pre-sales on products, because I just never wanted to pre-sell anything that wasn't ready to ship, because I'd seen people who would pre-sell stuff and keep missing ship dates. I have a book out called Magic and Mischief, and I said it's shipping in December. And all things going right, it's and I have, I only put that out there once I had a physical copy in my hands, but I was going to make some corrections to it, whatever, and ship that out. Because my fear was, and we did this when we did our iTricks products and stuff like that, is we would do pre-sale more to generate interest, but if we had money in our PayPal account, we let it sit there. We let it sit there until the thing physically shipped, because we didn't consider it our money.
Right. Well, and there's very little that is as stressful as having taken money, especially in the case of the Contender, and certainly it was the case. We did the Arcana box, the Arcana artifact. We did pre-sales on those. When you have a sizable chunk of cash, and that on paper you've seen the proofs, that you've seen the examples of the puzzle box created. That this company that makes card games has a reputation for good work or whatever. It's fine and good to know that in theory, by all the numbers, all of those things should end up just fine and look good. It is another thing to reach that point where they get in your hands and you spread the cards and you're like, they feel right. It's like the weight of 1,000 suns comes off your shoulder at that moment, and you know that you did not lead your friends astray,
Yeah, I did as sort of as a trial run, just to see my ability to ship and get things done. When I did my Public Enemy Zero paperback release, I did those book plates. I lost money on every single one of those book plates I sent out, but that was fine. That wasn't the goal. I knew that going into it. The goal was give people who are really into the book something to be excited about, and then on my end, figure out like, okay, how am I going to print out 100 labels? How am I going to print out 100 stuff? How am I going to go through all this stuff? So when I go do my Magic book, I've already, laid that groundwork and figured out all those sorts of problems, because it is that, I think just so many times people get into these things and they if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Well, and in your defense, I mean, you might have lost money on every book plate, but I'm sure you made it up on volume.
Yes, yeah. But that was the thing by plan. The plan was, all right, I'm going to price this book so I don't make money, but I know that if I spend a couple $100 sending these things out to people who are really loyal fans, that's awesome. For me, that's that's a win.
Yeah.
Maybe not a good
Absolutely.
business.
So, real quick, random other vector in the space of creative people trying to figure out their game plan. This was the week that I admitted defeat on pretty much everything that's not my field of expertise. I hired a bookkeeper this week because I realized that I am a liability for everything that's not being in front of a camera doing magic stuff. And I'm doing my best to help out Jaime with his launching of Holovect, but he's asking, well, how do you grab this video or that thing? And I'm like, my answer is like, I get someone more talented than me. And it's like, and I realized it's taken me a long time to get here. I quit my day job in May of '99, so it's 16 years in, but I'm finally in that position where pretty much if I care about it looking good, I trust literally anyone but myself to do it. And it's weird because when you quit your day job and you become familiar with the tools of desktop publishing, with the tools of Photoshop or whatever, I was convinced it's like, yeah, no, I can make it look super good, and there are some projects I'm really, really proud of. But I'm even more proud of having reached that moment of being able to throw my hands up and say, let an adult do this, not me.
That's the challenge, is that the advice I got from my uncle, who was an artist and a pretty successful artist, is you're always going to be your cheapest employee, which means there's so many things that you just sort of let fall on your shoulder. But there comes a point where you have to say, all right, I need to get somebody else to do that. We have a friend who was given a legal contract, and they went to us and said, what's your opinion? And our opinion is, well,
Lawyer.
Talk to a lawyer?
Yeah, talk to a lawyer, and it's like, yeah, it looks good, but it's what we don't know that should be in there that's the problem. And that's drop the money on them. And they agreed readily, and Justin was able to provide a good name of a good attorney for them. And that comes down to where sometimes it's hard. You're like, do I want to spend this cost? And sometimes, though, it can be tremendously freeing, because once you do that, you realize, oh, no, you weigh that. You say, okay, if I pay this, do I have 4 more hours of productivity a week that I can really put to use?
And at this point for me, it's not even a matter of like, my time's so super valuable. It's a matter of it's a guarantee of quality that I am too close to the product myself. And so it's like, I trust I could pick which of 3 versions I like the best, but in general, I no longer trust myself to do any of the design work. I can wave my hands and describe what I want and then pay somebody who's a talented graphic artist to do it.
Well, part of it is also just understanding where you at in terms of strata, right? Like, are you proficient at Photoshop? Are you proficient at design? Are you proficient at understanding how to write stuff? And there are some things for which I can rank myself and say, okay, well, I can do this. Like, I can put this out. Do I need to hire a graphic designer for the stupid secretly gay president ebook? No.
Right.
It's a silly ebook. I don't need to do that. But if Andrew has worked very, 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 very hard to get his skills in Photoshop and design up to a par where I believe it is something that you would see it is better than most books that come out, and he has sharpened his skills to the point where there is a quality there, but not everybody has that. And being good at it is different than being able to blend in to the same things around you. could we have done the contender as, you know, John designed a lot of the initial cards for the contender, and they look like an engineer at Uber designed cards for a card game, right? It's all right. It's fine. Gets the information out there, but it doesn't look good. It certainly doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like what we wound up doing, because now we've got a product that, like, you know, last night I went into our card closet and I took out all the card games and I put all of the card games that were in my closet on top of the contender box. And I'm like, that looks like it fits.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a bunch of professional designs and then some hot garbage, right? And that made me, in fact, I could say without pointing out which ones, I like our design better. You know, and that makes me so happy. But it's like, but that's a decision. That was a decision to give up a third of, I don't know whether or not that's smart to say, a third of of the contender belongs to Guts and Glory. We became equal partners, Guts and Glory, me and John, because to bring them in and make them invested in creating some of this design was really important for us if we wanted to think about this as not just a game we put out and sell to our friends, as like a larger, bigger picture. Let's actually sell tens of thousands, hopefully hundreds of thousands, you know, in the life cycle of the game. It's got to look like other games that sell at those numbers, and letting go of that is just, to me, the line between the glass ceiling of like whether or not I want to be X successful or Y successful.
Yep.
Justin and I went through this for years with our different schemes and plans and thoughts and things like that. And when you have an idea and you realize that to really make it happen, you need to bring in talent. The best thing you can do when the really talented people make themselves available is to bring them on board, and it is to give them, make them as much of a part of it as you can, because the reality is, here's the secret. There's a secret when you need the help of somebody and you have somebody who can help you who's really good at what you want to do and you get along with them, you're not losing half or whatever you give away. You're gaining the most important thing you could hope for, which is somebody else who can be as enthusiastic and as passionate about it as you are, because that's what you really need. Is that it's this, the adage, is that 100% of nothing is 100% of nothing.
Right.
And there are some very we focus sometimes on things like Zuckerberg and Facebook and getting rid of the other people. Well, there was a long way where it was a group of people working on it before it kind of became him, and then he ended up being like the one kind of guy that was really going to see this thing. If it had been a team, it would not have been as big as it is now. And you read on one side you read about Uber and you see about, man, like these guys are like nuts, but then you realize, man, if it hadn't been those guys running it, we'd be talking about Uber, Yeah. And you hear that the press like, how long are they going to let this guy keep as a CEO? I don't know. This guy turned it into a $45-50 billion company, valuation. I think as for all the publicity fallout, he seems to know something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fastest growing company of all time. Is that still a thing? I know it was once. You got to be very self-critical. That's probably, the biggest thing that I realized, or I try to realize every day, like much like alcoholics, like you're never really out. You can only remind yourself every single day that there's only so much I can do. There's only so much I'm good at. I need to be great. I need to be top quality at what I am good at. And I need to surround myself with other people who can help bring everything out.
I think the important test is that, and I've talked a lot about, you need to be able to be an independent. You need to be able to do it on your own. There's the difference between when you're at the limit of your talent and what your talent can realistically expect to expand to, and when you're just being lazy. Yeah. So many times people go to me like, I have an idea for a book or whatever. Maybe you write it. Like, no, maybe I don't. Maybe you write it. Ideas are easy. Ideas are cheap. I've got thousands of ideas in notebooks and stuff that I think are fantastic, great ideas. There's just only one of me to write them. And in a project like I'm working on right now, like I know my coding knowledge, it depends on how much time I spend on it. I mean, I know enough to do certain things, but I also know that at a certain point, I need to talk to somebody who's spent a hell of a lot more time in certain environments doing things than I do, because there's all the things that I don't know, like that legal agreement. Like I can look at a legal agreement and say, yeah, there's everything here that I want, and there's things I need to think about, but I need to bring in somebody who's going to go like, yeah, but that's the things that aren't there that are really critical. And that's the difference. But so many times people either just too quickly want somebody else to take the hard part off their shoulders, and that's problematic, or they just don't want anybody involved, and they're going to make something they think they can do everything. They think they can do all the worlds. And you go look through, I see this all the time in independent books, is just crappy covers, things like that, really horribly written descriptions, and maybe the book is great, but if they can't represent it well, it's a problem. And now it's so much easier. We've talked about before, 99 Designs, Canva, all that. You can get stuff done you can get go to Canva, and you can get design book covers for free that look a lot better than a lot of crap out there.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Wow, that was a fast. It was a fast half hour. I don't even really have much else to offer this week. Do you guys have anything else going on picks?
Well, before let's say if anybody has any questions for us for next week's episode, send them in. Send them to wherever. Write them on a note. Throw it away in a trash can.
Send them to me. You can just send them to neshcom@gmail.com. Include weird things in the subject title.
Or after
Thank
things.
you.
Or after things.
After things.
Yeah, cool. All right.
I unfortunately don't really have any picks outside of to say, Holovect. Holovect is an amazing Kickstarter you should check out. Just Google Holovect and it'll take you to the Kickstarter.
Hell yeah.
So
I got a pick.
What's that?
Sorry, Andrew, were you saying something? I didn't.
I interrupted you. I apologize.
Creed. I went to go see Creed. It's a movie. It's about you ever hear that Rocky fella?
Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion.
The Italian.
He's like he's got a restaurant now. He kind of sort of ever since his wife died. He's
the brain damaged old dude who fought all of Russia.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Swears that there's no steroids involved.
In that Russian fight, his friend Apollo Creed, supposed to be an exhibition, he dies in the ring.
Spoiler alert.
I saw the 30 for 30 about that.
Yeah, so it was horrifying.
Did you see that? I sent you a link to that, right?
His son.
Wait. Did you see the faux 30 for 30 about that?
Oh my God, so good. So good. I love those faux 30 for 30s. In fact, that was one of the disappointing moment in the new With Bob and David episodes is that they kind of feign to doing a fake 30 for 30 and then didn't hit. There's been so many good ones done that are so great at hitting all the tropes and everything of the 30 for 30 that I was disappointed that they didn't hone in on that a little bit more. But oh God, no, that one's so worth watching. The Space Jam one also was just so good. But anyway, so listen, there's a million reasons why this movie should be terrible, including Rocky, the Rocky franchise being yet another launching pad for a universe of people around Rocky. Do we really need to see?
But Rocky Balboa, the one that came out before this, was really good.
Really good.
It didn't get a lot of attention, but it was really good.
This is not directed or written by Sylvester Stallone, which I believe he did direct Rocky Balboa, right? I know he wrote it. This is Ryan Coogler. Yeah, directed. So this is Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler did Fruitvale Station. That also starred Michael B. Jordan. This was apparently an idea he had before Fruitvale Station started shooting. He had this idea for Creed and had basically the studio was really into it. Sylvester Stallone was not. He didn't want. He has had very bad experiences with other people writing and directing within the Rocky universe. He does not like Rocky V for that exact reason. And also kind of felt like it might have cheapened things. This movie rules. It is so good. It is great at playing against your audience expectations, especially with the score. The score always kind of just brings you to like, oh, is this a Rocky? This is the Rocky moment. These are the Rocky moments. Are you gonna tip toward the score? No. We're gonna bring it back. And it is Really, 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 really good. It is well directed. It is probably one of the best sports movies I think I have seen in a very, very, very long time. And Michael B. Jordan is just a star. He is a can't take your eyes off him. Awesome force of will. All I'll say is this: movie's so good that by the end of it, you are rooting very, very, very hard for a rich kid with the boxing nickname Hollywood to beat the poor guy from the wrong side of the tracks. It is amazing. It is really good. I wouldn't be shocked if Sylvester Stallone gets an Oscar nomination for his portrayal of Rocky. It's well done. And if anything else, here in the lesson of storytelling, since this is a podcast about and for creative professionals, it is all about William Shakespeare once said, "Brevity is the soul of wit."
Means don't waste my time.
Don't waste my time. It's great. Every moment that's like, oh, I wonder whether they're going to let this linger or they're going to be a secret kept. No, but get right to it. Get right to it. We're always at the point where a character's making a decision and getting into the next phase of the story. So rad. Creed. Go.
So Ryan Coogler, by the way, I guess he's got some of the little indie project coming out he'll be doing. Kind of an under the radar thing. You heard about this? And maybe it's a historical drama.
Is this another Star Wars flick coming out?
Nope.
Oh, Black Panther?
Yep.
Very, 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 very excited.
So he will be directing the Marvel Black Panther movie.
Great. He is, and this movie. I won't go any further, but to say the fight scenes are excellent, and they're excellent cinematically. It's not just kind of lockdown sports movie stuff. There's a lot of emotion, everything to it, but it's shot extraordinarily well.
From what I understand, they did the same thing. I think it was they did for I think it was The Fighter, which was Fighter. The Wahlberg one. They went and they talked to the HBO team that shoots the live fights, and so they did a continuous take fight scene, which is kind of a good way to do it if you can do it.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I don't know if it's spoiling to say that one of them is a long continuous take, but it's very, very well done, and all the fights apparently. In an interview I heard with Michael B. Jordan, they had choreographed points that they wanted to get to, but everything in between was them kind of filling in. They had a fight choreography that wasn't step. It was okay, we need to get to here. We need to get to here. When you get pushed into this corner, then you're going to react this certain way. But everything else between was them just acting, and it pays off. It looks great.
Sweet. Glad to hear that. My pick is a documentary on Netflix called Electric Boogaloo, which is the story of Canon Films.
No way!
Really, really, really good, which goes into the personalities behind that. I mean, if you grew up in the, in the 80s and you watched.
Canon was the jam, man. Canon.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, the Chuck Norris movies. They did Over the Top, and that was kind of towards the decline of there. But they brought back the Death Wish franchise and just these exploitive, way over, insane kind of movies in the story of the two, the producer and the director and the producers behind Canon Film, and their story from coming from the Israeli film scene to coming to here, and just a really well put together documentary. I think it's the same people that did the one about the Australian film industry, I believe. Really cool. Yeah. So that's my pick, Electric Boogaloo, which comes from they did the movie Breakin'.
Breakin' 2, yeah.
Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
So great.
Sounds good? We good?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's been after.
Good shows, guys.
Awesome. Fellas.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Very cool.
Sweet guys. Well, I am going to peace out. I will talk to you guys later. Everybody watching, I'll see you at 7 o'clock.
Justin, I'm going to give you a call.
You got it.
I'm gonna.
Later.
I'll just be
Wait, what?
here masturbating.
What? Do you have a question? Well,
No,
Brian, you raise your hand?
I was trying to jump in.
Do you
to
need
make
the
a big
restroom?
deal
Are
about
you
it.
okay,
I'm also
Brian?
doing things.
Yeah. Hey,
Good.
no, thanks, guys. I don't have time to appear either on your podcast or a phone call. I'm sorry. I'm very busy.
You always are. You're always like, I got to go because,
Not this time.
I'll call you after, Brian. I'll tell
All right,
you
I'm
what
leaving.
the project is.
I'm eating in my car.
Bye. And then they left.
Oh, did you still have time to do a game?
Yeah. Do you want to do it now or come back on in a bit or?
Yeah, let's come back on.
Okay, we'll be back shortly. And we're gonna do a game thing.